TeamCity server on a Windows machine. Before we install TeamCity server, we must make sure that we meet the minimum hardware and software requirements. For the purpose of this course, a small virtual machine with a single CPU and 512 megabytes of RAM will suffice. But for production environments with heavier loads, we will definitely need a beefier infrastructure. For exact hardware requirements for TeamCity, please refer to official JetBrains TeamCity documentation. Now we will do a quick check for software requirements. The only real software requirement for TeamCity server is Java runtime. So we will do a quick check and verify whether we have Java runtime installed. We will just open a command line window and type this command, java-version. This will output the currently installed Java runtime version. So here we have verified that we have Java 1.8 installed, and in order to run the latest TeamCity server, we need to install at least Java 1.7 or higher. JetBrains recommends that we install Java 1.8 for running TeamCity server, and we meet those recommended requirements. We should also verify that the required TCP ports for TeamCity server are free. In our case, we will be using ports 8111 and port 9090. After verifying the requirements, we should now download the installation package for TeamCity server. Let's navigate to the JetBrains official website and go to TeamCity download page. Here we will see various distributions of installed packages targeting different platforms. We will select the Windows version of the installer and click download. Note that JetBrains occasionally updates the design of their website, and the download page may look and function slightly differently for you. The installer package itself is about 600 megabytes in size. I have already downloaded it to my machine. So here is my installation file, and to start the installation procedure, I will just double click it. Now the installation procedure has started, and we will click next to proceed further. We will click on agree and move next. Okay, and now I'm going to install TeamCity to my D drive into a folder which I have already created. Now we will click next. And now we are given an option to choose whether we want to install both the server and the build agent on the same machine. In production environments, we may certainly choose to install the server and agent on separate machines. But in our case, for the purpose of this course, we will go ahead and install both the agent and server on the same machine. So I will leave the default options selected and click OK. Now I'm going to assign a port for TeamCity server to listen on. I will use port 8111, which is the default port for TeamCity on Linux platform. And 9090 is the default port for incoming connections for the build agent. Now after verifying these settings, I will click next. Now we are presented with a list of properties for the build agent. The most important property is the first one, which is the server URL, which tells the build agent which server to connect to. So in this case, it's pointing to localhost with port 8111, which is the correct configuration. So I'm going to save it and continue. Now we are going to configure the Windows accounts for these two services which we are installing. I'm going to let TeamCity server and agent both run under a system account and click next. Here I will start both services. Alright, now the installation process is complete. For next steps, we will need to configure TeamCity. So I will let the install wizard open the TeamCity web UI for next configuration steps. So now here is TeamCity server configuration wizard, which will help us set up and configure the server for our environment. Here on this screen, we will need to review and configure the location of TeamCity data directory. TeamCity data directory is the directory on the file system used by a TeamCity server to store the configuration settings, build results, and the current operation files. Since this data directory contains critical information, it is recommended that we back up this directory on a regular basis. I am going to specify a data folder on my D drive which I have already created, and then click proceed. TeamCity stores build history, users, build results, and some runtime data in a SQL database. On this screen, TeamCity allows us to select the database type. For the purpose of this course, we will keep the default internal database. But for production use, we should configure an external database which is installed on robust machine. TeamCity supports several external database engines like MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, etc. If we use any of these external database options, we will need to make sure that we have the appropriate JDBC driver installed on the server. For now, I'm going to go with the internal HSQL DB and click Proceed. Now TeamCity is going through some initialization steps. It will take some time for TeamCity to configure all the necessary components. So now here we are presented with the license agreement, which we will accept and click Continue. Here we need to set up a TeamCity administrator account. I will enter a username and password and click Create Account. Alright, so now we are in TeamCity administration portal. This is the default administration page. On this page, we are able to complete our admin profile, name, email address, password, etc. We can also set up additional users here. So now our TeamCity server instance is up and running and ready to go. Now we can also verify that we have started a TeamCity agent and it is connected to our TeamCity server. The agent is listening on TCP port 9090 and is ready to take on any new build tasks. So folks, that was the installation and configuration process for TeamCity server on Windows machine.